All right, guys, just a few different things I wanted to touch on in the headlines today. It says U.S. warns about Russia's warplanes amid emerging offensive. Yes, Russia is launching their spring offensive in Ukraine. And this war is a serious issue. I know people aren't paying attention to it as much now, but there still is kind of a coy non-answer in terms of how this is going to be handled. Russia cannot afford to lose it, but there seems to be no real let-up in the funding that Ukraine is receiving. If this war wants, to come to an end, it would have to be facilitated by the United States, and that it doesn't seem like that's likely right now with the U.S. continuing to funnel money to the Ukraine. Of course, it would be great if Russia just packed up and went back, but we know that is not happening. How about New Mexico State basketball reportedly forfeiting the rest of their season due to rampant hazing within the program? Their head coach got fired and they forfeit their last 6 games. Pretty remarkable. High-ranking Missouri Democrat says, F your thoughts and prayers after the MSU mass shooting that happened a few days ago, where tragically 3 students died, and obviously that is terrible. That is the last thing anyone wants. There is an issue with these school shootings going on in the country, but there's also an issue with using tragedies to try and restrict citizens' rights, and I do believe this shooting was committed with pistols. And again, guys, what you have to understand, when they push for the AR ban, they're really pushing for an outright gun ban. They want to repeal the Second Amendment. It really wouldn't make sense just to ban the ARs. There's been a number of mass shootings that have been done with pistols. You can do it with pistols. They're using the whole AR narrative to get a foot in the door when it comes to actually banning guns outright. They want all of them banned, not just the ARs. They have to start with the ARs and work their way in, but that is the idea. But that is terrible that shooting happened. We do need to do something, but using this tragedy to try and push, certain political stances that'll be restrictive towards Americans' rights is extremely disingenuous and really just disgusting, really horrible. A list of white racial slurs is circulating at Auburn University. Isn't this something? Auburn's Black Student Union recently circulated a list of racial slurs for white people. Campus Reform reports that some of the popular ones include palm people, failed abortions, deformed DNA, mockery of humanity. Mockery of humanity. White people built basically the entire infrastructure of America. No, but we're mockery of humanity, right? Bleach demons, albino pigs, not meant to exist. White people, was God just experimenting? All right, listen, a few of these are funny, I can't lie, including the one you see iPhone on light mode. All right, that one is good. But I'm trying to remember. I'll see if I can pull it up. I'll search for it. A 4-star college football recruit quarterback was caught on camera rapping, and apparently, when he was rapping, he said the N-word. He was committed to Florida at the time. They basically kicked him out. They said, you're not allowed to come here. He decommitted from Florida, and I don't have an official update, but I think he has to go to JUCO. So that is pretty crazy. A white kid gets caught rapping the lyrics to a song and gets canceled at the age of 17. Meanwhile, you've got Auburn University, kids that are older in college, coming out with a derogatory list against white people, and I'm sure these kids will probably get awards for this. Just 12% of Democrats want Biden to be party leader, that according to a new poll. So I guess Biden's big State of the Union, where a lot of Democrats were hyping it up, saying it was better than expected. A lot of people were thinking he was going to stumble on words. Apparently, it did him no good. With just, I mean, I'm guessing it's a little bit more than 12%. That seems like a pretty biased poll. But yes, a lot of Democrats are sick of Biden. And I'm guessing right now the Democrats are leaving all of their strategical options open. Having the incumbent advantage is very important. Did Tucker Carlson really just expose my cosplay hobby to my parents live on national television? WTF am I going to do? I'm getting kicked out of the house. Now, I'm guessing this is a fake joke, but if it actually is real, it is hilarious. So you look at the thread there, the iMessages, we need to talk, come to the family room ASAP. I recognize that flag on your wall. Get out of your room now. So could you imagine if that was actually real and the parents found out about their kid and the kid's fantasies through Tucker Carlson? How about this? This is just crazy to me. It looks like a nuclear bomb went off in eastern Ohio. And, I mean, when is the last time we've seen something like that in the United States? A lot of people surprised about the overall coverage of this, with it being a small town. But it is extremely scary, and you've got the whole issues going around where they're really trying to censor everything that comes out of that town. The locals are reporting their animals are dropping dead. A woman said 10 of her chickens died from the vinyl chloride that they ended up, putting out into the atmosphere and things like that. It really has a horrible effect on the animals. We've got Bill Gates saying he wants to use AI to censor political opponents. Isn't that just great? Bill Gates comes out in an interview and says he believes artificial intelligence can be used to prevent certain views from being magnified by digital channels. Web3 cannot come soon enough. Guys, always remember, when you're searching stuff on Google, it's all curated, it's all controlled. Google is too big not to be controlled by the government. They are totally in bed. We need Web3. We need something decentralized ASAP. We've got this coming from education. Not a single student is proficient in reading or math at 55 Chicago schools. That is according to a report. Now, this is the result of, kids really getting crushed in terms of their overall development. The pandemic, they lost virtually a year and a half of schooling, and now they're all, for lack of a better term, very, very challenged when it comes to performing basic math. And we're not talking about solving for X here. We're talking about, what's 5 times 5. A lot of those kids the kids these days that are like 12 years old, they don't even know that. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten with the schooling. If you're a 12 think about when we were 12 or 13, you're going to send me home in March when the pandemic kicks off, and you're going to say, hey, do all this stuff on your computer. How well do you think we'll be taught? We'd all be dumb. We would all be stupid. So all these kids really, really struggling at this point. We've got star podcaster Joe Rogan says Brian Stelter is basically a prostitute for hosting the Economic Forum and the Davos panel in Switzerland. Brian Stelter. Guys, the whole Joe Rogan story is so crazy. So number one, you look at some of these pictures of Brian Stelter and just, how evil do you have to be to agree? You're just a normal person to host something like this where you've got virtual tyrants saying this is how the world's going to run, and they can say that because they're all ultra rich. When you're a billionaire, you have such an absurd amount of power, and now the World Economic Forum has gotten so much hate. A lot of these billionaires are saying we're not even doing it. I think it'll get to the point where all the meetings get so private, none of it's public because they've gotten so much backlash. More people are paying attention to it. And you've got Brian Stelter, who is just happy to be there, I am guessing. What a weird looking dude. But when it comes to the whole Joe Rogan situation, I was just thinking about it, you know, with him recommending alternative medications. You know, I'm trying to be careful because with YouTube, you've got to be careful with the censorship and stuff like that. It's so sad that this is still a thing, but YouTube is not saying anything about it, so I'm going to be careful. Joe Rogan comes out and says, listen, do what's best for you, but there are other things you can do. You've got Pfizer who controls CNN. They throw a complete hissy fit. It gets so bad and they get so triggered. That's when they start talking about the horse paste. That's when they start digging up old clips of Joe Rogan from 2 decades ago saying the N-word. They were so desperate and in full panic mode. And this is CNN we're talking about, being controlled by a pharmaceutical company on what they're doing. Their lead story is Joe Rogan saying a racial term because Joe Rogan came out and said, hey, maybe that thing that everyone's getting, maybe there's other ways to treat it, which is going to affect their bottom line. And it's just so corrupt. All of it is so corrupt. Americans, you guys need to do something, and here we go. You will basically see, 5 to 10 viral posts like this on the internet every single day. It is the new anti-work sentiment that is going on within America. And you know what this leads to? Where workers demand better working conditions, more benefits, more pay, less hours. This leads to robot jobs because companies will not pay employees what they're demanding. And this leads to employees that, had paid for the 6-figure degree. Now that that's worthless, they're all going to live in smart cities. They're all going to drive electric, self-driving cars that the government controls. You're going to work a lot less hours, but you're also not going to own anything. And you guys want to know the best part? You're going to love it. You will own nothing and you will love it. Workers who go, or these kids who go to college and get this degree and they think that they matter, then they go to these jobs and they're terrible and their bosses suck, so they demand higher pay and they want better benefits, and other countries are doing this. And then the companies realize, I don't want to deal with humans. These people are annoying. They want more from us. We can just have robots do the job. And this is a brutal cycle that is just kicking off in the United States. Residents near Ohio train derailment report dead fish and chickens as authorities say that it's safe to return. Who is saying it's safe to return again? You got to be careful with any of this biohazard stuff in the air. Ohio officials say air quality in East Palestine is fine, but not to drink the water. I mean, this is just horrible. Inflation rose 0.5% in January, more than expected, and up over 6% from a year ago. This is why I think we have not reached the cycle bottom for Bitcoin or any of the cryptocurrencies. We will go lower. I think the cycle low was like 13K or 14K or something like that. I'm guessing we'll get down to around 10. There is just simply no purchasing power right now for Americans. You can see it at the grocery store. About a month ago, I started to realize different drinks, things were up over $1 or $2. It's crazy. It is out of control. And there is another photo. It's just so important to look at this, of the Ohio derailment. This looks like Nagasaki 2.0. Wow. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.